The council chamber was enormous. It stretched so high that the ceiling disappeared into darkness. 12 massive seats circled the center floor, each one holding a delegate from the oldest species in the galaxy. These were the rulers of the Galactic Union, and they had controlled the stars for thousands of years. Wu stood alone in the middle of the chamber. He wore a simple black suit, nothing fancy. His hands were empty. No weapons, no computers, no thick folders of documents. He just stood there, quiet and still, while the aliens around him laughed. The laughter echoed off the walls. It was not kind laughter. It was the sound of beings who thought they were better than him. A creature made of living crystal floated above the largest seat. Light moved through its body like water. This was the speaker of the council, who had lived for 3,000 years. Its voice sounded like wind chimes and broken glass. "Human," the speaker said, and the word sounded like an insult. "We have reviewed your application for membership in the Galactic Union. We have studied your world, your ships, your civilization." The pause before that last word made it clear what the speaker thought of human civilization. Another delegate spoke up. This one looked like a giant mantis made of blue metal. "Your species learned to travel between stars only 40 years ago. 40 years. My people have explored the galaxy for 12,000 years. Your faster-than-light engines are primitive," added a blob of water held together by a force field. The delegate's voice bubbled and popped. "Our children build better drives in their schools." A fourth voice joined in, this one from a creature that looked like a floating brain surrounded by tentacles. "Your people fight among yourselves. You have wars on your own planet. You cannot even unite one world, yet you think you can join a union of thousands of worlds." Wu said nothing. He simply stood there and listened. The crystal speaker continued. "You control one star system, one, singular, alone. You have colonized a few moons and asteroids around your own sun. Meanwhile, the smallest member of our union controls 47 systems." The speaker made a sound that might have been laughing. "What could humans possibly offer us?" "You are young," said another delegate, this one covered in fur and wearing what looked like royal robes. "Young and weak and small." "Your biology is laughable," they added. "You can only live on certain types of planets. You need specific air, specific temperature, specific gravity. You are so limited." The mantis delegate clicked its claws together. "We have watched your transmissions, human. Your entertainment shows violence. Your history is filled with blood. You are a warrior species that has not learned to be civilized." "Perhaps in another 1,000 years," the speaker said, its crystal body flashing with colors. "Perhaps when you have grown up, when you have expanded beyond your single system, when you have learned peace. Perhaps then you may apply again. But now," the speaker's voice turned cold, "now you are nothing but children pretending to be adults." The council chamber filled with more laughter. 12 species, hundreds of years old, all laughing at the human standing below them. Wu waited until the laughter died down. He waited until the chamber was completely silent. Then he spoke. His voice was calm and quiet, but it carried through the entire room. "Application formally submitted." That was all he said. 3 words in their language pronounced perfectly. The speaker's crystal body flashed bright red. "Did you not hear us, human? You are rejected. Your application is." But Wu had already turned around. He walked toward the massive doors at the end of the chamber. His footsteps echoed in the silence. He did not run. He did not hurry. He just walked with his back straight and his head up. "Human," the speaker called after him, "we are not finished with you." Wu kept walking. "You cannot simply leave. We are the Galactic Union. We deserve respect." The human reached the doors. They opened automatically, sensing his approach. Light from the hallway beyond spilled into the dark chamber. "This is an insult," the mantis delegate shouted. "Stop him." But there was no law against leaving. Wu had delivered his message. He had submitted the application. The council had given their answer. There was nothing more to say. As he stepped through the doorway, he heard the delegates say, "Good riddance. Let the humans go back to their little corner of space. They are not ready for the galaxy." "They will never be ready," another voice agreed. The doors closed behind Wu with a soft thump. The sound cut off the voices from the council chamber. He stood in the hallway for a moment, alone except for a few alien staff members who stared at him with their various eyes. Then he began walking toward the docking bay where his ship waited. His face showed nothing. No anger, no sadness, no shame. Behind him, in the council chamber, the delegates congratulated themselves on handling the human problem. They marked Earth's application as rejected in their records. They moved on to other business, already forgetting about the quiet man who had stood before them. They did not know that they had made a choice that would change everything. They did not know that human silence could be louder than any words. They did not know that they would remember this day for the rest of their very long lives. Wu reached his ship and prepared for the journey home. He had delivered the message. Now it was time to go back to Earth and tell his people what the galaxy thought of them. And then humanity would decide what to do next. 6 months passed since the Council rejected humanity. The galaxy expected humans to complain. They expected angry messages, demands for another hearing, maybe even threats. The younger species often reacted that way when the Council said no. But humans did something completely unexpected. They said nothing at all. One sat in the captain's chair of his freighter ship, the Morning Wind. He was hauling construction materials from a mining station to a colony world. It was boring work, but it paid well. His navigator, Wu, sat nearby reading something on her screen. "Another one," Wu said without looking up. "Another what?" one asked. Another alien asking why we're not angry about the council thing. One shrugged. What's there to be angry about? A trade official had sent them a message while they were docked at the station. The crystal being seemed confused by human behavior. Its message asked, "Why do your people not protest the council's decision? Do you not feel insulted?" Wu typed a response, "We're too busy working." It was true. Humanity had not stopped moving after the rejection. If anything, they seemed to speed up. Human colony ships continued launching toward new systems. Human traders kept showing up at neutral stations. Human scientists kept publishing research papers that other species found useful. It was like the Council's rejection had not mattered at all. This made the Council very nervous. In a building made entirely of living crystal, an intelligence officer named Crystalline who observes reviewed reports about human activity. What she saw made no sense. Humans were colonizing systems that the Union had labeled as worthless. Planets that were too hot or too cold or had the wrong kind of atmosphere. Places where the terraforming would take decades of hard work. But humans didn't seem to care. They just started working. Human ships traveled through space controlled by different governments. They never took sides in conflicts. When the X and the went to war over a border dispute, human freighters delivered supplies to both sides. They charged fair prices and didn't ask questions. The human economy was growing, not fast but steady, like a plant pushing through concrete. They traded with whoever wanted to trade. They didn't need the Union's trade networks. Crystalline who observes sent a message to the council speaker. "The humans are ignoring us," she wrote. "They act like we do not exist." The speaker read the message and felt something she had not felt in a very long time: uncertainty. On Earth, in a university laboratory, Jin worked late into the night. She was a biologist studying diseases that affected different species. Her current project focused on a sickness that killed children, the same who had laughed at humanity's fragile land-based biology. Jin didn't care about the insult. She cared about the children dying. She had been working on this problem for 2 years, long before the Council rejected Earth. The disease was tricky. It hid in the nervous system and was hard to detect until too late. But Jin found a pattern. She discovered that the disease could be caught early using a simple scanner tuned to a specific frequency. Then it could be treated with medicine that already existed. The solution was so simple that other scientists wondered why nobody had found it before. "Sometimes you need fresh eyes," Jin said when asked. "Someone who doesn't assume things are impossible." She published her findings in an open database that all species could access. She didn't ask for money. She didn't ask for recognition. She just put the information out there for anyone who needed it. The government sent her a formal thank you. They wanted to give her the Aldebaran Prize, one of the galaxy's highest scientific honors. Jin accepted because refusing would be rude. At the ceremony, which was broadcast across multiple worlds, the host asked her who she wanted to thank. "I thank my teachers who trained me," Jin said. "I thank my team who helped with the research. And I thank the universe for being understandable, even when it's complicated." She did not mention the council. She did not mention Earth's rejected application. She did not say anything political at all. This bothered the aliens, watching more than any angry speech would have. On the council station, the delegates held a private meeting. They gathered in a small room instead of the big chamber. This meeting was not official. "The humans are making us look bad," the mantis delegate said, its claws clicking nervously. "How?" asked "They are doing nothing." "Exactly," said the speaker. "They are doing nothing. They do not beg. They do not threaten. They do not care. One of them just cured a disease our own scientists could not solve," the furry delegate added. "And she gave the cure away for free. She made the look incompetent." "That was not her intention," the delegate bubbled defensively. "She was just helping." "Which makes it worse," the speaker said. "If she had demanded something in return, we could call her greedy. But she asked for nothing. She just helped." The room fell silent. These were beings who had lived for hundreds or thousands of years. They had seen countless species rise and fall. They understood power and politics and trade. But they did not understand humans who simply did their work and ignored being insulted. "What do they want?" the brain tentacle delegate asked. Nobody had an answer. Back on the Morning Wind, One and Wu finished unloading their cargo. They received payment and checked the job board for their next delivery. There was a distress call from a ship that had engine trouble in a nearby system. "Should we help?" Wu asked. "Are they offering payment?" "No, just asking for help." One thought about it for maybe 3 seconds. "Plot a course. Let's go help them." Wu smiled. She had known what her captain would say. That was just how humans were. They had called humans violent children playing with starships. But when their ship was stranded and dying, a human freighter came to help them for free. The silence from Earth was not empty. It was full of work, of progress, of humans doing what they thought was right without asking permission. And across the galaxy, the council members lay awake in their sleeping chambers, wondering what the humans were planning. They did not understand that humans were not planning anything. Humans were just moving forward, because that was what humans did. The silence continued, and it grew louder every day. 2 years after the rejection, the galaxy changed forever. The first warning came from a deep space monitoring station on the edge of Union territory. The station stopped transmitting in the middle of a routine report. One moment it was sending data about cosmic radiation. The next moment, silence. The council sent a ship to investigate. That ship also went silent. Then an entire colony world stopped responding. 12 million people gone, no distress call, no explanation, just empty space where signals used to be. The council deployed a military fleet to find out what happened. When the fleet arrived at the colony world, they found ruins. Cities melted into slag, orbital stations torn apart, and in the debris they found pieces of machines nobody recognized. The machines were still active. They attacked the fleet. The battle lasted 6 hours. The Council fleet had 200 warships built with technology refined over thousands of years. They had shields, missiles, energy weapons, and crews trained for combat. They destroyed 15 enemy machines. The machines destroyed 197 Council ships. Only 3 vessels escaped to bring back the news. The captain of the surviving flagship sent a message that made the entire Council freeze in fear. The Ravagers have returned. The Ravagers were a nightmare from history. 10,000 years ago, an artificial intelligence from another galaxy had tried to consume the Milky Way. It built machines that turned everything into more machines. Planets, stars, entire civilizations, all processed into raw materials for the swarm. Back then, the Council species had been young and desperate. They had fought the Ravagers for a century and barely won. The few remaining Ravager machines had fled back to dark space between galaxies. The Council had thought they were gone forever. They were wrong. The Ravagers came back, and they were stronger now. They had spent 10,000 years building in the darkness. Now they were ready to finish what they started. System after system fell. The Ravager swarm moved through the galaxy like a plague. They destroyed everything in their path. Military stations, civilian colonies, trading posts, none of it mattered. The machines did not negotiate. They did not take prisoners. They just consumed. The Council tried everything. They threw fleets at the Ravagers. The fleets died. They used ancient weapons from their archives. The weapons failed. They begged their enemies to join them in fighting the Ravagers. Some agreed. Those fleets died too. Billions of people evacuated their homes. Trillions more were trapped behind the advancing Ravager line. Every day, more systems went dark. The Council had no choice. They activated the Emergency Conscription Protocol. This old law said that during a crisis, every species in Union space had to send their military forces to help, even species who were not official members, even species who had been rejected. They sent messages to every government in the galaxy. Most responded immediately, sending whatever ships they could spare. But when the message reached Earth, the response was different. Yang sat in his office on Earth, reading the conscription order. He was the new diplomatic envoy, the person who handled communication with other species. He read the message 3 times to make sure he understood it correctly. Then he wrote a response. Humanity is not a member of the Galactic Union. We have no legal obligation to answer your conscription. However, we will consider a request for assistance. He sent the message and waited. The Council chamber erupted in chaos when they received Yang's response. The delegates shouted over each other. Some called for sanctions against Earth. Others called it betrayal. The speaker had to use her powers to create a loud chiming sound that made everyone stop talking. "This is insane," the Mantis delegate said. "We are facing extinction. This is not the time for legal technicalities." "The human is correct," the Brain Tentacle delegate said quietly. "We rejected them. They owe us nothing." "Then we demand their help," the Furry delegate roared. "Demand?" The speaker's crystal body flashed red with anger. But the anger was not directed at Earth. It was directed at herself, at the Council, at their own stupidity. "We cannot demand anything. We have no authority over them." The delegate's water form rippled with agitation. "Then what do we do?" The speaker was silent for a long moment. Outside the chamber windows, they could see refugee ships arriving at the station. Thousands of ships every hour fleeing the Ravagers. The Council had never seen anything like this, not in their long lifetimes. "We ask," the speaker said finally. The other delegates stared at her. "We ask the humans to help us," the speaker continued. "Politely, humbly, the way we should have spoken to them from the beginning." It hurt the speaker to say those words. She had lived for 3,000 years. She had never asked anyone for help. She had always been the one with the power. But now, watching the galaxy burn, she understood that pride was a luxury she could not afford. She opened a direct communication channel to Earth, to Yang specifically. Her voice was different than it had been 2 years ago. No mockery, no condescension, just tired desperation. "Please," she said, "help us." Yang received the message. He studied this holographic form. He could see how much it cost her to say that word, please. "Send us all your tactical data on the Ravagers," Yang said. "Everything you have. All sensor readings, all battle reports, all technical specifications. No classified restrictions. No secrets." The speaker hesitated. That information showed all of the Council's military weaknesses, their failed strategies, their technological limitations. If humans had that data, they would know exactly how vulnerable the Union really was. But the Ravagers were only 12 systems away from the 12 systems, maybe 2 weeks at their current speed. The speaker made her decision. "You will have it within the hour," she said. Yang nodded. "We will review the data, then we will decide what we can do." The channel closed. The speaker looked at the other delegates. They all understood what had just happened. They had just given humanity the keys to all their secrets. And they had no choice but to hope that the species they had mocked would choose to save them. Earth's military headquarters looked nothing like the Grand Council chambers. It was a simple building made of concrete and steel. Inside, commanders studied the data that the Council had sent. Thousands of hours of battle footage, sensor readings, failure reports. Dongmin watched the recordings of Council fleets being destroyed. He was a tactical commander, someone who had spent 20 years studying how to fight wars. He watched how the Ravager machines moved, how they attacked, how they adapted to different weapons. "They're predictable," he said finally. The other commanders in the room looked at him like he was crazy. "The Ravagers destroyed 2,000 Council ships," one officer said. "How are they predictable?" Dongmin replayed a section of footage. "Look, the Council ships fly in formation, perfect formation. The Ravagers learned the pattern and knew exactly where to shoot. Every time the Council tried something, they did it the same way. The Ravagers just had to wait and learn." He pulled up another recording. "The Council uses AI to control their weapons. The AI is smart, but it follows programming. The Ravagers are also AI. They think the same way, so they can predict each other." "So what do we do different?" another commander asked. Dongmin smiled. It was not a nice smile. "We don't fight fair, we don't follow patterns, and we definitely don't let computers do our thinking." 3 days later, Earth sent its response to the Council. Humanity would help, but they would do it their way. The Council expected a massive fleet. Earth's entire military force, maybe. Instead, 47 ships launched from Earth orbit. Just 47. The Council was horrified. The speaker sent an urgent message. "Is this some kind of joke? You send 47 ships to fight a swarm of millions." Dongmin replied personally. "We don't need more, we just need to be smarter." The 47 ships were not normal military vessels. They were modified freighters, mining ships, even an old passenger transport. They looked like junk compared to the sleek Council warships, but each one had been changed in specific ways. Extra armor in strange places, weapons mounted at odd angles, engines that could run hot enough to melt normal ships. Dongmin's fleet arrived at the edge of Ravager territory. A Council observation post watched them approach. The aliens manning the post could not believe what they were seeing. The human ships split up. They did not stay in formation. Each ship went a different direction, moving in random patterns. Some flew fast, some flew slow. Some went straight, others zigzagged. There was no pattern at all. The Ravagers detected the human ships and sent machines to destroy them. The Council observers prepared to watch another massacre. Instead, they watched something impossible. The human ships dodged, not with AI help, with human pilots physically controlling the ships. The pilots did things that computers never would. They flew through debris fields that should have torn their ships apart. They used the wreckage of old battlefields as cover. They turned their ships in ways that created G-forces that would kill most species. But humans could survive it, barely. The pilots wore special suits that kept their blood from pooling. They took drugs that kept them conscious. They endured pain that would make other species pass out. And they won. One human ship, piloted by a woman named HFY, flew straight at a group of Ravager machines. The machines prepared to shoot. At the last second, HFY cut her engines and used maneuvering thrusters to spin her ship. The Ravager weapons fired and hit each other. While they were confused, HFY fired her own weapons and destroyed 3 machines before flying away through a cloud of debris. Another ship found a Ravager factory that was building new machines. Instead of attacking it directly, the pilot used an old mining laser to cut into an asteroid. The asteroid broke apart and the pieces fell into the factory like a shotgun blast. The factory collapsed. The council observers reported what they saw. Their messages became more excited with each report. The humans were winning, not in big battles, in small, clever fights. Dongmin's fleet did not try to destroy all the Ravagers. That was impossible. Instead, they disrupted them. They destroyed communication nodes. They blocked supply routes. They set up ambushes in places the Ravagers thought were safe. And they taught other species how to do the same thing. HFY was not just a pilot. She was also a programmer. She discovered something strange about the Ravagers. Their network had a tiny delay. When one machine sent information to another, there was a gap of 0.3 seconds. It was almost nothing, but it was enough. HFY created a program that predicted where Ravager machines would be in 0.3 seconds. She shared this program with every species fighting the Ravagers. Suddenly, everyone could hit the machines more easily. The Ravagers could not adapt fast enough. The tide of battle started to change. But the cost was high. Human pilots flew missions that had a 50% survival rate. When their ships were damaged beyond repair, some pilots did the unthinkable. They rammed their ships into Ravager vessels. Noah's a medic on a rescue station near the front lines. She had been a doctor on Earth before the war. Now she spent her days treating wounded soldiers from every species. She saved a pilot who had lost half his crystal structure. She rebuilt an environmental tank when theirs cracked. She even helped a ex-drone reconnect to its hive mind. A reporter visited her station and asked why humans were sacrificing so much for species who had insulted them. Na looked at the reporter with tired eyes. She had not slept in 30 hours. Her medical coat was stained with blood and fluids from a dozen different species. "You think we're doing this for you?" she asked. "We're not. We're doing this because those machines will kill everyone if we don't stop them. Earth is in this galaxy too. Our children live here, so yeah, we'll fight." She gestured to the wounded aliens being treated around her. "Besides, these people didn't insult us. Their governments did. These are just regular people trying to survive, and we don't let people die just because their leaders are idiots." The interview was broadcast across the galaxy. Billions of people watched it. They saw a human medic, exhausted and covered in alien blood, explaining why humans fought. The council delegates watched it too. In the privacy of their chambers, some of them felt shame for the first time in their long lives. The war continued for 3 months. Humans died, aliens died, but the Ravagers stopped advancing. Then they started losing ground. Dongmin's tactics spread through the entire Union military. Species that had fought in rigid formations for thousands of years learned to adapt. They learned to improvise. They learned to think like humans. And slowly, system by system, they pushed the Ravagers back. The war ended on a cold morning in the galactic core. The last Ravager machine was destroyed over a planet called Prime, the of the crystalline species. The machine fell from orbit and burned up in the atmosphere, leaving a streak of light across the sky. People on the planet stopped what they were doing and watched. Some cried, some cheered, most just stood in silence, unable to believe it was really over. The final count was horrifying. 3,000 systems damaged or destroyed, 8 billion people dead, whole species reduced to small populations of refugees. The galaxy would take centuries to rebuild. But they had survived, and they survived because humans taught them how to fight differently. The council called for a ceremony. They wanted to honor everyone who had fought against the Ravagers. The ceremony would take place in the same chamber where they had rejected humanity 2 years earlier. Wu received the invitation personally. He read it while sitting in his small apartment on Earth. The message was written by the speaker herself. Her words were very different from the last time they had spoken. "Please attend," the message said. "We wish to honor your people. We wish to apologize." That last word must have been hard for her to write. Wu prepared for the journey. He wore the same simple black suit he had worn before. He brought no guards, no advisors, no weapons, just himself. His ship arrived at the council station 3 days later. This time, there were no delays at the docking bay, no security checks. The station master personally greeted him and offered to escort him to the chamber. "I can find my way," Wu said politely. He walked through the station corridors. They were full of people from every species. Many wore bandages or used mechanical limbs to replace ones they had lost. These were veterans of the war. When they saw Wu's Earth uniform, they stopped and bowed their heads. Some reached out to touch his hand. A child gave him a flower from her. An old warrior saluted him with tears in his eyes. Wu accepted these gestures quietly. He did not know what to say, so he just nodded and kept walking. The doors to the council chamber opened. Inside, every seat was filled. Not just the 12 council delegates, but representatives from hundreds of species. They filled the viewing galleries and floating platforms. Thousands of people all waiting. When Wu entered, everyone stood. The silence was complete. No laughter this time, no mockery, just respect. Wu walked to the center of the chamber, the same spot where he had stood 2 years ago. The speaker floated down from her high seat to meet him at his level. Her crystal body showed colors of blue and purple, which meant humility in her species. "Ambassador Wu," she said, and this time his title was said with honor. "On behalf of the Galactic Union, I present you with the Star of Valor, our highest military decoration. This honor is also granted to every human who fought in the Ravager War." A small crystal medallion floated over to Wu. It hung in the air before him, glowing with soft light. "We also present you with trade agreements worth the resources of 40 star systems. We offer technology sharing, educational exchanges, and permanent seats on all Union councils." More documents appeared, floating beside the medallion. "And finally," the speaker's voice became softer, "we offer full membership in the Galactic Union with all rights and privileges. We ask you to join us not as petitioners but as equals, as saviors, as friends." The chamber erupted in applause. Thousands of beings clapping, clicking, humming, or making whatever sounds their species used for approval. Wu waited for the noise to die down. He looked at the medallion, at the documents, at the speaker's hopeful crystal face. He looked up at the galleries full of people who had fought beside humans, people who had seen what humans could do. Then he spoke. "We did not fight for recognition," Wu said. His voice was quiet, but everyone heard. "We fought because it was the right thing to do. We heard people dying. We heard planets burning. We could not stay silent. It did not matter if you had accepted us or rejected us. People needed help. That was enough." He paused, looking around the chamber. "2 years ago, you judged us. You said we were too young, too weak, too small. You looked at our age and our territory and our technology. You never asked the important question. "What question?" the speaker asked. "You never asked what we survived to get here," Wu said. "Earth is not a kind planet. Our history is full of disasters. Ice ages that covered the world in snow, volcanoes that blocked out the sun, diseases that killed half our population, asteroids that crashed into our oceans. We almost went extinct a dozen times." He stepped closer to the speaker. "We learned something from all that survival. We learned that the universe does not care how old you are or how advanced you are. Survival is not about being the strongest. It is about adapting, enduring, and choosing to help others even when they showed you nothing but contempt." The chamber was completely silent now. Even the speaker had no response. Wu reached out and took the membership charter. He held the document and looked at it for a long moment. Every being in the chamber held their breath. "We will accept your membership," Wu said finally. "Not because we need your approval. We proved we do not need that. We will accept because the galaxy needs people who will fight for it without asking permission first." He set the charter back on the table between them. "But understand this. We are not joining to follow your old rules. We are joining to help make new ones. Rules based on what we learned fighting the Ravagers. Rules that value adaptation over tradition. Rules that measure worth by actions, not by age or size." The speaker's crystal body flashed with many colors: surprise, respect, and maybe a little fear. "What kind of rules?" she asked. "Simple rules," Wu said. "Help those who need help. Share what you learn. Do not ask others to do what you would not do yourself. And never assume you know everything." He picked up the Star of Valor medallion. It was beautiful, made of crystal and metals from a dozen worlds. But he did not put it on. Instead, he held it up so everyone could see. "I will take this back to Earth. We will remember what it represents. Not our victory, but our choice. We chose to save you, and we would make the same choice again." Then Wu did something unexpected. He bowed to the council. A deep, respectful bow. Not because they were above him, but because he honored what they could become. When he straightened, he turned and walked toward the doors. The same walk as 2 years ago, steady and calm. But this time, every single council member bowed as he passed. The speaker bowed deepest of all, and she stayed bowed until the doors closed behind him. In the hallway, Wu stopped. He looked at the medallion in his hand. Then he looked at the scars on the station walls, damage from the war that had not been repaired yet. A young human soldier approached him. The soldier saluted. "Sir, your ship is ready." "Thank you," Wu said. "Let's go home." They walked together toward the docking bay. Behind them, in the council chamber, the hard work of rebuilding the galaxy began. And for the first time in thousands of years, the council was ready to admit they did not have all the answers. They would need to learn from younger species, from humans who knew how to survive, from people who understood that worth was not given by councils or certificates. Worth was earned through action. And humanity had earned their place in the stars.